At first, everyone thought it was a joke. Hundreds of thousands of tiny saplings buried in the ruthless deserts of China. Why bother, they asked. How could these puny plants ever conquer shifting sands? Then, a decade passed. Suddenly, those early skeptics found themselves stunned and profoundly regretful. Let's see why. Long before these desert fields were dotted with greenery, a wave of laughter echoed across news reports and scientific circles. In 1978, China launched the 3 North Shelter Belt program, an ambitious plan to plant trees in arid regions across the country's north. The goal was to tame the desert, block fierce winds, and halt sandstorms. Critics were quick to dismiss it as a fantasy. Many believed trees would perish under the scorching sun. International observers questioned the feasibility, pointing to the enormous cost and complexity. Meanwhile, local residents wondered if their efforts were wasted in barren soil. Yet, amid the skepticism, a handful of visionaries pressed forward, determined to prove the doubters wrong. The Kabuki Desert was once a lifeless expanse in Inner Mongolia, notorious for swallowing farmland and displacing communities. Stretching over 18,600 square kilometers, it was often referred to as a sea of death. In the 1990s, government officials and private companies began a bold collaboration. They tested new techniques of planting drought-resistant shrubs, positioning them strategically to bind shifting sands. People scoffed at the idea of greening this impossible desert. Yet year after year, tiny green patches emerged. Livestock found fresh grazing zones, and locals reclaimed arable land once deemed lost forever. Today, Kabuki stands as a testament to what relentless determination can achieve, even when nobody believes it can succeed. Saihanba, located in Hebei province, was once a barren wasteland, battered by icy winds. Historically, this northern plateau was rich with grasslands, but deforestation and harsh winters turned it into a desolate place by the 1950s. In 1962, a small team of foresters decided to change the narrative. They planted millions of seedlings adapted to extreme cold. Each winter, sub-zero temperatures killed most young trees, intensifying doubts. People asked, why waste time and money? But gradually, seedlings took root. After decades of trial and error, Saihanba evolved into the world's largest man-made forest. Towering pines and vibrant larches now shelter wildlife and store carbon, defying every prediction of certain failure. In remote desert villages, entire communities joined the reforestation effort, often armed with little more than straw hats and a fierce resolve. Families would plant saplings by hand, carrying water in buckets or wheelbarrows across scorching dunes. Children learned to dig holes and nurture seedlings after school, forging a special bond with the land. The scenes of these sun-baked villagers at work were broadcast across China, and many were perplexed. Why devote so much labor to such a hopeless cause? Yet these heroes in straw hats soldiered on, year after year. Today, when visitors see forests where there was once only sand, they realize it's the quiet determination of ordinary people that makes miracles possible. Nicknamed the Great Green Wall, the 3 North Shelter Belt program expanded its reach across thousands of miles. By linking smaller forest belts, sand-fixing shrubs, and farmland protection zones, the project aimed to form a continuous shield against desertification. Early experiments were fraught with setbacks. Seedling survival rates were low, and irrigation was costly. But with each failure came new insights. Officials imported hardy tree species from regions with similar climates and invested in drip irrigation systems to conserve water. Slowly, forest belts merged, forming a patchwork of greenery across provinces. On satellite images, observers marveled at ribbons of green pushing back the desert's edges. The laughter of doubters began to fade. Over time, science emerged as the backbone of China's desert reforestation. Researchers studied soil composition, local weather patterns, and water availability. They introduced innovative methods like seed bombing, where tree seeds encased in nutrient balls are dropped from planes to reach inaccessible areas. Others tested mycorrhizal fungi to help roots absorb nutrients more effectively. These breakthroughs helped boost seedling survival rates and cut costs. Western experts visiting the sites were astonished at the rigorous experimentation, which contrasted sharply with their earlier beliefs of a haphazard campaign. Suddenly, headlines shifted. It seemed China's approach was more method than madness. Data confirmed improved ground cover and rising groundwater tables, silencing the critics who once scoffed at the ambition. In the early 2000s, a monstrous sandstorm brewed in the Gobi Desert, heading straight for Beijing. Weather agencies predicted disastrous air quality and widespread disruption. As the storm front approached, something unexpected happened. Newly established forest belts and shrub lines slowed the storm's progress. Instead of a devastating blackout of swirling dust, the capital saw shorter, milder bouts of haze. This event sparked media interest and shifted public opinion. Reporters highlighted how strategic tree planting curbed the storm's ferocity. Skeptics who once dismissed the desert forests realized these projects were more than a mere environmental experiment. They offered protection and stability where a decade earlier there had been only sand. In Ningxia, a region once plagued by drought and sandstorms, farmers began to see a transformation unfolding right in their backyards. Soils that were once too dry for anything but tumbleweeds turned unexpectedly fertile. Small water-retaining shrubs planted around fields reduced wind erosion and helped trap morning dew. Gradually, local families planted goji berries, a crop prized worldwide for its nutritional value. The improvement was slow, but visible, converting sections of the desert into productive land. When the first harvests arrived, outsiders were stunned. Communities that had been on the brink of relocation were now thriving. This shift signaled a powerful message. Desert greening wasn't just cosmetic, it could literally feed people. In certain desolate stretches of the Gobi, engineers experimented with creating artificial oases. They dug irrigation channels connected to distant rivers, laid down geotextiles to reduce evaporation, and planted hardy reeds to trap silt. Gradually, shallow pools of water formed, attracting birds and small wildlife. The sight of migratory cranes touching down in a once lifeless desert stunned onlookers. Critics had claimed that no such oasis could be sustained. Yet the engineers persisted, carefully monitoring water usage and adjusting plant varieties. Each success was proof that human ingenuity could reshape the harshest landscapes. Over time, these engineered oases became vital stops for wildlife, demonstrating that strategic intervention can forge new ecosystems where none existed before. At first, many people expected instant greenery, but desert restoration is painfully slow. Early results often appeared discouraging, with saplings taking years to gain a foothold. Seasonal sandstorms undid months of planting in a single afternoon. Nonetheless, project leaders stressed patience. They knew natural processes demand time and continuity. It took repeated planting cycles, soil amendments, and consistent irrigation for the land to change. Only after nearly a decade of gradual improvements did critics begin rethinking their harsh judgments. As satellite images revealed greener swathes each year, it became clear desert reforestation is no quick fix, but a methodical, long-haul endeavor. In hindsight, those who laughed at the beginning realized they had underestimated nature's resilience. As green corridors expanded, entire industries sprouted up in the desert. Ecotourism ventures took visitors on guided treks across newly formed forests. Medicinal herb farming grew popular, especially with drought-resistant plants like licorice and astragalus. Solar energy farms capitalized on the abundant sunshine, neatly complementing the environmental mission by providing clean electricity. Local entrepreneurs set up honeybee colonies amid blossoming shrubs, leading to lucrative sideline businesses. This economic boom was a bonus no one initially expected. When naysayers saw the desert hosting thriving enterprises, they recognized the potential they had missed. Through a carefully balanced approach, the desert was no longer an obstacle, but an opportunity, reshaping both livelihoods and opinions forever. In the early phases, the idea of planting over 1 billion trees seemed ridiculous, yet China marched steadily toward that target, mobilizing volunteers nationwide. Schools organized annual tree planting events, while companies sponsored reforestation drives. Afforestation numbers soared, with year-on-year increases documented by the State Forestry Administration. Photos of endless sapling rows circulated, fueling both admiration and doubt. Was it a numbers game or genuine improvement? Ground reports indicated that although some regions struggled, overall tree survival rates improved each season. The once laughable billion-tree goal inched closer, demonstrating that what sounds absurd on paper can become reality through persistent, large-scale collaboration. Over time, even global organizations recognized these efforts as groundbreaking in scope. Initially, Western outlets often painted these greening efforts as well-intended, but ultimately doomed. Articles highlighted failed plantations and concerns about monoculture forests. Over time, however, foreign journalists who visited sites like Kabuki or Saihanba saw the tangible change. Reports shifted from scornful critiques to cautious praise. Documentaries showcased how local communities had adapted their methods, learned from mistakes, and revived entire landscapes. International environmental experts were invited to share knowledge, forging new research partnerships. Suddenly, headlines proclaimed desert reclamation as a real possibility. Those who once laughed realized that behind each dune was a calculated strategy. China's evolving reputation in ecological restoration showed that perseverance, rather than quick success, often wins global respect. For decades, Beijing residents dreaded each spring, anticipating choking dust storms rolling in from the northern deserts. Then something changed. Gradual forest growth in the northern provinces began filtering and slowing the winds. Official data showed a decline in the frequency and severity of dust storms hitting the capital. NASA satellite imagery confirmed the greening effect over vast areas that once contributed heavily to airborne particles. Though air pollution remains a major concern in Chinese cities, experts agree that controlling desert dust is a key step in improving overall air quality. What was once dismissed as an overhyped solution contributed visibly to cleaner skies, prompting many to reconsider their skepticism. As nations grapple with the realities of climate change, China's massive tree planting campaign emerged as a critical carbon sink. Trees absorb carbon dioxide while releasing oxygen, helping to mitigate global greenhouse gas levels. Although planting forests alone can't solve climate change, scientists estimate that new woodlands in China are capturing hundreds of millions of tons of carbon annually. This realization resonated worldwide. Countries looking to offset their emissions began studying China's methods. Though some environmentalists warned about potential drawbacks, like water depletion or monoculture, the overall consensus was positive. By transforming deserts into carbon-absorbing landscapes, China demonstrated how large-scale ecological engineering could become a powerful tool in the global fight against warming. In north-central China, the Loess Plateau was once a hotspot for soil erosion and poverty. Overfarming and deforestation had stripped the land bare. A massive rehabilitation project began in the 1990s. Authorities limited grazing, built terraces to capture rainwater, and introduced sustainable agriculture. Trees and grasses were planted to stabilize slopes. Within a decade, satellite images revealed a dramatic change. Brown wastelands were replaced by greenery, and crop yields soared. This model became a case study for ecological restoration worldwide. Although separate from pure desert greening efforts, it proved that with the right mix of policies and persistence, even severely degraded land could rebound. Observers who initially scorned these investments were forced to rethink their views. One of the biggest criticisms was that planting trees in deserts could deplete scarce water resources. Critics argued that large-scale forests would drink up groundwater, leaving local populations vulnerable. Researchers responded by selecting drought-tolerant species, such as sea buckthorn and xerophytic shrubs, capable of surviving whilst-minimum irrigation. Drip irrigation systems and rainwater harvesting further reduced water usage. Over time, the evidence showed careful management could avoid critical depletion. In some regions, improved vegetation actually helped retain groundwater by preventing runoff and capturing rainfall. While water scarcity remains a complex challenge, the success in regions like Kabuki suggests that strategic planting can reduce desertification without draining precious reserves. Skeptics soon recognized the nuance behind water usage strategies. As forests took root, nature responded in surprising ways. Birds returned, building nests in newly planted canopies. Small mammals found refuge in undergrowth, while insects and pollinators thrived in the blossoming shrubs. Wetlands in reclaimed areas attracted migratory species, offering vital rest stops on long journeys. This unexpected biodiversity boost was documented by conservation groups who conducted wildlife surveys across rejuvenated desert belts. Animals once absent from these zones were spotted again, indicating a gradual restoration of ecosystems. It was a reminder that planting trees isn't just about conquering sand, it's about reviving the intricate web of life. Ecologists who initially downplayed the project as cosmetic saw real ecological benefits emerging before their eyes. China's success in greening deserts sparked interest from countries battling their own desertification issues. African nations fighting the encroachment of the Sahara or the Sahel began discussions on transferring knowledge and techniques. China hosted training sessions, showcasing the benefits of drip irrigation, windbreaks, and selecting native plant species. Joint research initiatives formed, aiming to replicate the approach on other continents. This global exchange highlighted an important truth. While each region has unique conditions, the underlying principle of consistent large-scale effort remains universal. The world saw that desert landscapes could be partially reclaimed with the right policies and community engagement. Once ridiculed, China's desert reforestation now stood as a blueprint for international collaboration. Not every attempt was successful. Some areas struggled with monoculture forests that provided limited ecological benefits. Elsewhere, plantation efforts failed when funding dried up or policies changed. Environmentalists warned that certain fast-growing trees might drain soil nutrients or alter local habitats in negative ways. Critics also pointed out that the quality of forests mattered more than sheer numbers. Despite these criticisms, most experts agreed that the initiative's net impact was positive. By acknowledging failures and adapting planting strategies, project leaders refined their methods. Lessons in biodiversity, water management, and community involvement shaped subsequent efforts. What began as an idea many considered laughable had matured into a complex, evolving project, still facing obstacles, yet forging ahead. Younger generations have grown up watching deserts slowly transform into forests and farmland. School programs encourage students to plant saplings each spring, learning hands-on lessons about ecology. Many kids inherit a sense of responsibility for sustaining these green belts. Some continue the work of their parents, studying environmental science or agricultural management to refine techniques. In villages where success is most visible, a new pride emerges. Rather than fleeing harsh rural areas for city life, many choose to stay and build on ecological progress. This inheritance of hope stands in stark contrast to the despair of earlier decades. The new mindset, if a desert can bloom, then anything is possible with enough perseverance. As dunes turned green, local economies flourished. In regions that once saw mass migration, job prospects emerged in forestry, agribusiness, and tourism. In the Kubuki Desert, for instance, desert tourism parks now draw visitors eager to see the miraculous transformation firsthand. Resorts, camel treks, and guided tours generate vital income. Additionally, newly stabilized soils allowed expansions of livestock breeding and herbal plantations. This prosperity fuels a self-reinforcing cycle. More resources are invested into sustainable practices, leading to even greater ecological gains. The sense of local pride is tangible. Where people once felt doomed by their environment, they now feel empowered. They no longer see sand as a menace, but as a stage for opportunity. A decade after many experts sneered at the notion of mass planting in China's deserts, they found themselves eating their words. Photographic evidence, satellite data, and on-the-ground reports confirmed that deserts had truly retreated in places. Scholars who predicted failure publicly admitted they underestimated both human resolve and nature's capacity for renewal. Politicians who once balked at funding green campaigns sought ways to replicate them. News outlets that mocked the efforts ran features praising the transformation. While challenges remain, the undeniable proof lies in the living forests and farmland that now stand where once only shifting dunes roamed. The laughter has faded, replaced by respect for a project that dared to dream big. Where does this momentum lead? China's desert greening continues, guided by improved scientific understanding and community partnership. There's talk of pushing the Great Green Wall deeper into remote provinces, integrating solar farms and wind turbines alongside forest belts. Meanwhile, desert tourism and specialty agriculture expand, offering new economic lifelines for once impoverished communities. Environmental challenges persist: water management, climate volatility, and the need for biodiversity. Yet the core lesson resonates worldwide. Determined, large-scale action can reclaim damaged landscapes and restore hope. Far from a mere fantasy, the dream of turning deserts green has become a living reality. And as the story unfolds, more people than ever believe that perseverance can conquer even the harshest of environments. Throughout history, countless dreams have been dismissed as impossible. until they became real. And so it goes with China's deserts, living proof that vision, patience, and hard work can achieve the unthinkable. Thanks for watching.